first question is, do we have Cynthia?
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Oh, my name is Cynthia. Welcome to Unsung Heroes. It's going to be a very interesting show today. How are you, Chris?
I'm all right. Do you want to explain to the viewers why it might be an interesting show? Not just because we have an interesting guest, but...
So I have absolutely no idea what you just said because it's been cutting off. But I suppose that you asked me to explain why it's going to be an interesting show today. And let's see. I can let you guess. I am in a place that is not my office. I will pick up my... Oh, now I'm breaking out. Well, I'll keep on talking because apparently you guys can still see me. And I'm in this really weird room. It's called a cell. I'm not in prison. But it's a monastery because my brother's a monk. And let me tell you that monasteries are lost in the middle of the countryside and there is no 4G connection. So I have a very poor connection. I'm trying to stay very positive about it and not stressed out at all, and hoping that Jeremy will forgive all of the non-followed up questions that I won't be asking because I don't hear his responses.
I'm sure I might have a follow-up or two.
That would be wonderful. So I'm not supposed to be laughing very loudly.
Cynthia.
Sorry?
Would you like to say who our guest is?
I do. I do. Okay, so his name is Jeremy Nocon, and he is the VP for Business Development at the Jim Henson Company. And besides being that, he's also a scriptwriter, a filmmaker. He used to be, oh my God, I'm not even going to go into what he used to be. He'll come on and tell us. It's going to be amazing. He's like, in French, we call it électron libre. He's a free electron in a molecule. That's what he is. He's just like, and it's really cool. But first, Chris.
Yo.
Please tell me your shower thought for the day.
Oh, I've got a couple as usual.
Yay. I'm excited.
Right. One of them is a conversational one, which I'll do last. And the other two are more of my kind of shower thought statements. I said, like, wouldn't it be awesome if I could book, like, in my own schedule, like a half-hour slot in my day to do all of my pooping and peeing needs, so that it wasn't interrupting the rest of my day. And like, I know that some people do actually manage to do this, but I want to know how, because it would make me so much more efficient as a human being. And if it's inconvenient to have that half-hour slot at the time, then just to reschedule it, like we do with a meeting. Just like, oh, sorry, I can't meet right now. I'm stuck in traffic. Like when you're stuck in traffic and nature calls, that's not fun. But if you can just go, I'll do that again in an hour. It'd be much easier. Anyway, I have like a slightly morbid shower.
Another shower thought maybe that might be a little bit more sharing publicly friendly.
Oh, they're all shareable. This one's a bit more morbid. Like when people die,
it's okay. We're in a monastery.
When people die, the coroner should take fingerprints, and that should be checked against databases, so that you could solve like cold cases. Like,
that's good.
I'm assuming that there's some rule against it, but I think for the good of like cold cases and people getting closure, it would be fantastic to just tick them off and be like, that was that person.
I don't understand why we don't all get our fingerprints taken when we're children, because apparently, I don't know. Do they change as we grow up? Anyway, but why don't we all have to just give our fingerprints? I don't understand what the big deal is.
Civil liberties, I believe.
Well, what civil liberties are you losing by giving your fingerprint?
The right to get away with crime.
That's right. It's the only liberty is the right to get away with something illegal. That's bullshit. I don't get it. I said shit in the monastery. I said it again. Darn. Oh.
It's always going to happen, right? So my more like upbeat conversationally one is like, which currency is the one that dictates who's a billionaire? Because in like Iranian rials, I'm a billionaire. So does that make me a billionaire? Do I get to be like, oh, I'm like Bill Gates? Or is it in specifically in dollars? Or is it in pounds? Is it in euros? Because there's got to be someone somewhere that is like a billionaire in dollars, but not in euros or pounds, just.
Huh. That's interesting. I don't know.
Kelly says Swiss francs.
Really? You think?
I don't know. Should we ask our guest?
Let's ask our guest. He's a business developer. He may know. Jeremy, come on to the show. Hello, Jeremy.
How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the show.
So what are your thoughts, Jeremy? Billionaire, what currency does it have to be in?
Whatever currency actually gets me to be classified as a billionaire. That's the one.
I'm pretty like short on cash, and I'm still an Iranian rial billionaire.
Well, then let's go with that.
I'm sure you've got more money than I have.
But there's like African money too. Is got to be like, you can be. I could maybe be a billionaire in some African money, some African currencies. I guess. I don't know. What is it? Italian currencies before there was the euro. It was like really, really high. I'm not gonna go any further on that one because I may piss people. The lira, yeah. The
smallest currency in the world, denomination-wise, value-wise, is the Iranian rial. That's why that's the only one that I am a billionaire in. I'm that poor. And that's one United States dollar is 42,105 Iranian rials.
Wow.
I remember when the dollar was equal to 6 French francs. Or wait, no, 1 French franc was equal to $6 or something like that. I remember that. I don't remember. Wait, it was the other way around. Anyway, I was fucking rich when I got into France. I was like spending money like this. Boop, 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 boop. It was so cool. I was very happy. And Kelly's an Iranian billionaire too. I think that's cool.
Buy a house, Kelly. Let's go.
Let's go buy a house.
Jeremy, please, to all of our viewers, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Oh, well, guys, I'm Jeremy Nocon. I work at the Jim Henson Company. I'm a vice president of business development for the Jim Henson's Creature Shop, but I'm also a filmmaker. And Cynthia, thank you for the kind intro. Primarily, I've been in entertainment for close to 15 years now, and it's been a journey, and there's still so much more to do.
That's cool. Wait, you know what? We forgot to do something. We forgot. Number 1, to thank our listeners for listening. Hello, Chris. It's nice to see you. Tell us where you're listening in on, and like, subscribe,
follow,
and slightly press. There we go.
Slightly caress.
Slightly caress, slightly fondle, slightly tickle, like, Anyway.
It's all just going in my head for our.
Stop it! Stop it! We're not going there. Oh my God.
I wonder what the monks outside of your room are thinking right now.
So I'm not in the monastery. I mean, I'm in the hotel of the monastery where the families can come in. And so but there are monks like I'm at the
it's a good name.
They're like on the other end of the wall. On the other side of the wall, there are monks. So I really shouldn't be laughing very loudly, but that's me. I'm going to be laughing very loudly, I know. So anyway, let's get back to you, Jeremy.
Sure.
Jeremy.
Yes.
How the heck did you get into this business?
Oh,
Tell
wow.
us.
It's a long story, but I'm happy to get into it. I don't think I've had like the traditional pathway that most folks are probably accustomed to in terms of breaking into the entertainment industry, especially on like the corporate side, where you kind of work your way up through the ladder system. I come from a family of lawyers, and like from birth, I was pegged to be a lawyer. And when I was a kid, that I was already saying I was going to be an attorney. I had a really close relationship with my grandpa, who I love dearly. He's no longer with us, but growing up as a kid, I spent so much time with him. We'd read case law together, and he was an attorney in the Philippines. He was a top attorney there, and we really bonded over that. And I graduated college, went straight into law school. But like probably my second semester in law school, I realized the only thing I like about being a lawyer is the ability to talk and actually argue a point of view and trying to get people to see that my point of view was correct. I didn't like anything else about it. I didn't like the red tape. I didn't like having to file all these motions, all the paperwork. I just couldn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life. And I've always had this love for film and television. I'm a kid of the 80s where we consumed so much, and everything I saw on screen literally blew my mind. I always wanted to figure out, how they made that, how they did that. And I'd watch something one time and, be thoroughly entertained by it. And then I'd watch it and rewatch it to try to figure out how they actually executed it. So that kept calling me when I was in through law school, and that's when I realized I was like, I really want to go into film, like entertainment. I want to figure out if there's a place for me in film and TV. And I was really, really scared. I was scared to go have this conversation with my parents. I'm Filipino, and in our culture, your kids grow up to do like the tried and true professions, like doctor, lawyer, nurse, dentist, like accountant. No one goes into the arts, like especially I'm gonna have to tell my dad that I'm gonna forego a career in law to try my hand in arts, and I'm not even in film school. So I had a conversation with my dad, and it was such a easy conversation because he said to me, it's your life. You have to want to wake up in the morning and not want to hit the snooze button. He's like, I'll make you a deal. Pass the bar exam, and then you can do whatever you want. So that's what I did. I passed the bar exam in New Jersey, and from there I transitioned. I was like a lawyer for like a blink of an eye. Like if you sneezed, I was out of there. So and but I really tried to get my feet planted in the independent film scene and the film scene in Philadelphia, because I grew up in South Jersey, right outside of Philly, and all this entertainment, film and television production was happening in that area. I latched on to a couple independent projects, and for you guys that don't know, in indie film, you work with all kinds of creators and at various levels. My first couple of projects, I learned what not to do, and then I finally found my mentor and someone who this woman, Kat Phillips, who she used to be a former attorney as well, and her and I really bonded over that, and she kind of took me under her wing through her company, Cat Scratch Films, and really kind of just taught me everything that she knew and helped bring me along. And after working with her for a couple of years, I finally decided to make the move to Los Angeles in 2007, and I was so excited to make this move. It's like I was a kid growing up in New Jersey. Always thinking I'm not going to stay in New Jersey. I want to go to a big city. And then as I got older, and when I was in law school, and after law school, and while I was doing all this independent film work, I kept saying to myself, when am I going to make the move? When am I going to make the move to actually go to Los Angeles and try to build a career? So I finally did that in 2007 after I finished an indie film called Chasing the White Dragon that I spent a lot of time in Tupelo, Mississippi. That was an experience. I was like a fish out of water in Tupelo, Mississippi. But tons of stories from there. I loved it there. People are so sweet, but they just don't see a lot of people like me in Tupelo, Mississippi. So that was really interesting. But when I got here, to Los Angeles, because of my legal background, I was getting calls all the time. Lots of opportunities to interview with the studios and the talent agencies here. And 2008 came, and with 2008 we had the recession and the writer's strike in the entertainment industry, and everything just kind of dried up. Like it all just kind of I thought my phone was broken. Like no one was calling me. Like I would send out resume after resume, no one was calling me. So I really struggled those first 2 years, year and a half when I got here, and I was gonna go do these two indie projects because I'd built enough of a name in independent films that I was gonna go help produce 2 indie films. And I remember this day because it was the day that my older brother was coming to visit me for the first time, because I moved out here with my younger brother Jeff, and my older brother Ray was visiting us for the very first time in Los Angeles. And I remember waiting for him at the airport in the short-term parking terminal at LAX, and I get a phone call from the production, and they said, "Oh, the 2 projects aren't going to be moving forward. The funding arm feels that it's too unstable of a market right now to be doing movies." And I just remember being devastated that day because I was literally on borrowed time. I worked through all my credit cards, and savings was kind of dwindling, and for me it was I was desperate in terms of I just didn't know where the next opportunity was going to come for me. I've always been a person who can kind of generate opportunity, but in that moment I couldn't really see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I remember that night I couldn't sleep. It was like 2:30 a.m. and I went on an entertainment job site, and I saw this posting at the Henson company, and the posting was for a sales position at the Creature Shop. And I'd been sending resumes out and cover letters for like the last year and not getting much traction. So I said, all right, this is a creative company. I'm a big fan of this company. Let me try something. So I tried something new. Instead of a regular cover letter, I wrote a script, a 1-page script for my cover letter. And it started off: interior day, hiring manager, young, good looking, but clearly overworked and in need of a raise. Sits behind 2 monumental stacks of resumes and cover letters. Hiring manager crumples up the set of papers in front of him and throws it gracefully over his shoulder, landing in an overflowing wastebasket. A pair of papers catch his attention off the right stack. He pulls at it, and of course it's my resume. And he's looking at it, and it goes into like your standard cover letter like spiel, like, "Hi, I'm Jeremy Nocon. I've accomplished X, Y, and Z. I'd love to work for your company. Blah blah blah." And he looks at his phone, continues to read, looks at his phone again, and then finally, in like one fell swoop, grabs the phone and dials in big bold sequence my number 60, and it ring, and it ends with, "Hi, this is Jeremy," and it says "to be continued." So within a matter of days, yeah, it's I was, like I said, it was part desperation, but also part, let me show these people how, how I can get your attention. And I remember going through 4 rounds of interviews at Henson, and at every round they all said that, so you want to be a writer? And I said, no, I just want to show you that I know how to get your attention, because part of sales is having to get someone's attention, right? So I made it through 4 rounds, and I'm feeling good about this whole process. I was like, I got this. And I'm meeting in like our giant conference room with like 3 executives, and I'm on the other end of the table. It's like that classic scene with like the long dinner table, but there's only like 2 people there, and that's what I felt like. And like cut to like the end of the recruitment process, and I find out I didn't get it. I'm devastated. Like again, borrowed time. I have like no options. Like I was like all eggs in this basket of like, I'm gonna get this job. And when they told me that I didn't get it, and they went with another candidate that had the experience, because that was the thing, I didn't have any experience working with animation, with characters, puppetry, creatures. I didn't know this world. The only thing I could hang my hat on was that I know I could sell, I know I could develop, I know I could close deals, and I understood like the process. And what had happened was, I remember the day after I found out that I didn't get the job, I was contemplating going home. Like I was literally saying, I think I'm going to go home. And I've always really been big into fitness, and a friend of mine who I'd always trained with, we're going on a run one day, and I said, I think I'm going to go home, and I have no more money, I have no more options. And she says to me, she's like, why don't you become a trainer? Like every time we're at the gym, people are always asking you to train, and what you do. And I said, that's not a bad idea. And I knew some folks at LA Fitness that could connect me to this like training assistant manager position. Essentially, my job when I took this job at LA Fitness while I was studying to actually like get my training certification. Have you ever like gotten a membership at a gym and they give you that complimentary free session?
Yeah.
I've never had a membership at a gym, and I'll never have one.
Well, if you ever
hate you, Chris.
They always offer this complimentary free session.
Yeah.
The complimentary free session it's meant to kick your ass, so that by the end of it you realize how out of shape you are and how much you need their training. It's that's kind of the mechanism. And it's well intentioned in that it's trying to help people, reach their goals. But that was my job essentially. Like I would be the person training all these new people, and while they're huffing and puffing, it's like, hey, do you want to sign up? Like you kind of need it. Like that was kind of how it worked, right? And throughout this, like I would always have to like pass off all of these like really amazing, cool people I got to know while I was training them. And they're like, well, Jeremy, if I sign up for training, are you going to train me? I was like, oh no, I won't train you. We got this whole roster of other trainers that are going to train. We're like, no, but if I sign up, I want to train with you. So it was really interesting because I finally I worked there for about 4 or 5 months at LA Fitness here in Hollywood, and I was training, and in the middle of it, while I finally got my certification, I guess I must have chatted up someone who I didn't know worked at Equinox, which is a high-end training gym in Los Angeles, and they told me that, hey, we've got openings, and I think my boss wants to meet you. So I went over there to Equinox, and they interviewed me, and they saw my resume, and they're like, Jeremy, we really want to hire you. You've got the attitude and the personality that we need, because the trainers at Equinox are also salespeople. I would be doing what I was doing there, but I would actually be holding on to the client instead of passing them off to another trainer. And I remember when they looked at my resume, they said, you got all of this entertainment stuff on your resume. Like, you know, like, what's that all about? And I was like, oh, I'm done with entertainment. I'm gonna be the best trainer that you guys need me to be. This is where I'm at. This is my mindset. And I remember it, like 2 weeks into my orientation when I got the job. So you have to do this like 2-week orientation at Equinox. I get a call from Henson, and they're like, "Hey, Jeremy, any hard feelings?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "Would you mind coming in for an interview and another interview?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So like Equinox and the Jim Henson studio a lot in Hollywood, they're like maybe 2 miles away from each other. I had this like whole plan. During my break, my lunch break, I went down into the parking garage of Equinox. I like changed out of like my training gear into like jeans and a sports coat. I drove the 2 miles to Henson, and I did like it was like a 30-minute interview where instead of being in this like giant like conference room, I was in someone's office, in one of the executives' offices, and it was just 3 of them, and they're just asking me all these questions about like, hey, if you were in this situation, what would you do? And I just gave them an answer. I was like, oh, this is what my instincts would tell me I would do. And I do the interview, I go back to Equinox, I change back into there's like people, I couldn't, like my car didn't really have a lot of room for me to change in my car. So I'm like changing in the parking lot. People are walking by. I didn't even care. I was like, this is a job. It's an opportunity. I'm going after it. Right. And I remember finishing my shift. I wake up the next morning with an offer letter in my email from the Jim Henson company. And what's crazy is while I was training at LA Fitness, I was training all these like young junior directors, like junior creatives that were younger than me at the time. Cause I think I was like 28, 29 when I was training at LA Fitness. And all these people were like probably like in their early 20s. And I just kept telling myself, I was like, man, I'm going to be behind such the curve here, because like all these folks plug themselves into the system so early. I was like, by the time I get to where they're at, I'm going to be well into my 30s. Well, the offer letter I got from Henson, the title of the job was Director of Business Development. So I like leapfrogged. Like I wasn't an assistant. I wasn't a junior, a manager or a coordinator. I just I leapfrogged like 3 levels to director. And I took that job, and I haven't looked back since, you know, from Henson, I've stayed there. It's my 12 years, my 12th year. I think I've been there so long is because I love the company. I love the culture. And I really took to the job. So I oversee the Creature Shop and like the business of the Creature Shop. And I love everything that we do, like the creativity of it all, like the artists that we work with. I love the process. And then I love closing deals. I am really wired, I think, left and right brain. I love the creativity of the job, but I also love being able to speak about it with passion to potential partners and clients about what we can bring to their productions. And then I really love closing deals. That's something that it's like an adrenaline rush for me. Like when you're in the process of going after a deal and then closing it. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask you, what's the hardest deal that you've had to close? If you can talk about that without.
I can't talk about it in specifics, but it was with a studio that didn't care to have a practical element, and it was trying to convince them that they needed it. And how did
you do that?
You know, it was really a team effort with my team. We shot a little video with a creature that we kit bashed together, and how we would execute it as this giant rod puppet. And that little video, I think, sold them oh wow, they've thought about this. They actually know how to do it. And we had a larger meeting with their executive team coming off of that video, and from that meeting we sold them. And because because usually when people come to us at the Creature Shop, they usually really want to work with us. But in this one, there were like two conflicting parties within the creative team, and so they had to we had to sell the side that didn't really care to spend the time and resources on a practical character.
So I'm gonna maybe ask a stupid question, but I like stupid questions because I'm sure I'm not the only one that's thinking about it. Because there are lots of stupid people that I kind of join myself with those people sometimes.
Hi.
Hey, Chris. Tell me what the Creature Shop is, because I mean I can pretty much guess, but there may be people that are listening or that will be listening that don't know exactly. We all know Jim Henson, but what is the Creature Shop?
Oh, so the Creature Shop is a creative arm for the Jim Henson Company, and so essentially the Creature Shop is a character company. Like they create characters and bring them to life with the art of puppetry, and we also do digital as well, real-time digital puppetry with characters. So like it's like a Willy Wonka, right? Like we're constantly creating. Like if I like the tagline for the Creature Shop is imagine what you can do with what we can do. And so like we welcome all the creators to come find us or the ones that we reach out to, and we want to collaborate. We want to figure out ways to create.
Wow. Okay.
When you're talking about business development as well, yes, Becca, I would as well.
Thank you, Becca.
About business development, what does it like an actual day look? Your typical day look like? Because that sounds like it's an office job to me, and that would drive me absolutely mental. So, can you just like run us through what a more typical kind of day?
Chris, you started off the show with your shower thoughts, right? Like my shower thoughts is. Like what on a typical day is like I'm in the shower thinking, all right, what deal can I close today? Like what can I make happen today? So that's like the first thing I do. Like because like biz dev is like a 24/7 kind of job. Like you always have to constantly be on the lookout for an opportunity. And like for what I do for the company, it's opportunities that could utilize the services of the Creature Shop. So if I hear of a production, television or film. That's in that fantasy world, creature elements. Like I gravitate towards that automatically. So a lot of it is like trying to keep up on the trade magazines, and when I mean trades, that's like the Reporter, Deadline, like Variety. Because wherever announcements are made that a project is getting greenlit or going into development, I need to get on that. And you would think that it's like a desk job, but really if you're at your desk for a majority of the day, you're actually not doing business development. If you're at your desk answering emails, that's not business development. Like business development is going out, meeting with folks, like pre-pandemic, like I would have like meetings all the time, like face-to-face meetings, really like pitching people, but also building relationships. I kind of don't like the word sales. Because I don't think of myself as like a salesman. Like that's not something. I never approached the job like that, and especially with the things that I do in entertainment and as a filmmaker, I always look at it like I'm passionate about this, and I just want to share my passion with other people that are willing to listen and that want to work with me. And if we happen to sign a contract or a deal to work together, then that's great. Like I'd rather build the relationships with people and have those long-standing relationships than try to like walk into a room and be like, you should buy this. This is why you need us. Like that. Like that's just never been my style. Like I think the fact that I'm I've got these roots as a filmmaker, and I've always aspired to be a storyteller. I kind of do that with my job. Like I try to tell you a story of like how we can help you and what we could do on your project.
So then you maintain that relationship as opposed to doing the LA Fitness thing and handing them off to a different department as a client. You stay involved all the time, yeah? Yeah.
Like if people, like do me the honor of wanting to work with our team and the Creature Shop, I want them to feel like, wow, Jeremy's gonna watch out for me all throughout the process. Like, he's got us. Like, he's gonna make sure that this project will not go bad.
What kind of things? I mean, obviously, in your experience, you must have learned so much from all of the things that, you know, all of the crap that gets thrown to you when you're a director of something, whatever that is. What kind of lessons have you learned through your years of experience that you wish you had learned faster or at an earlier date?
Oh, yeah. The one thing that I've learned throughout my entire experience is patience. Is like patience in everything. Like, I used to bang my head against the wall and like go into like my boss's office when things didn't happen fast enough. I was like, why can't this happen? Like it's clearly there. Like it's set up to happen. Like, let's just do this. And understanding like that things take a process, that things have like this, like approval process, review process, like that like understanding that is something that I've had to learn over time. Even like now as like a filmmaker outside of Henson, I think everything should just happen right away. Like why can't we just make that happen? And it's having that patience and understanding that, things have this like ebb and flow. Sometimes they all kind of line up, and then sometimes it's like it's just barren, like nothing's moving. And yeah, and I think also like patience with how you deal with people. The entertainment industry is like it's just full of personalities, and you have different kinds of personalities, and it's like having that kind of patience.
Yeah. Do you? I mean, so you're obviously working with Jim Henson, but you also have other projects on the side. Can you tell us about those nifty little things that you're doing in
Sure.
your spare time?
Yeah. It's like I do burn the candles on both ends. So like it's as a filmmaker, one of the first projects I'm really trying to focus on is a project on sleep paralysis. Do you guys know what sleep paralysis is? Have you ever had it?
No.
So I suffered from it for like 3 years off and on. And the first time I had it was when I started at Henson. They sent me to New York to go visit my New York Creature Shop. And I remember checking into this hotel that was booked for me. I forget the name of the hotel, but it was like a creepy hotel. And like it was one of those hotels that had a separate bedroom and a separate living space, and had a door that separated the two. I remember going to bed that first night, and I had closed the door, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and the door was open. I couldn't move my body whatsoever, and all I could look at through my past my toes was this like shadowy figure in the middle of the doorway, and I was just so terrified. I couldn't move my body. Like I kept trying to like tell my body to move, and nothing. And all and I could just feel like things like hovering around me. And finally, like I popped up and was able to move. And it's one of those situations in sleep paralysis when you wake up, you actually don't know if you were awake or if you were asleep, if it was a dream, right? But to this day, I vividly remember that. And I had like so many other episodes about with sleep paralysis, and I started doing research on it. And like a lot, there's like a certain percentage of the population that actually like they suffer from it, and there's a lot of mythology around it. And the way I got rid of it was I found out it happens more often when you sleep on your back. So I became a stomach sleeper. And it got rid of it, because apparently there's something with like the chemicals in your body when you're sleeping on your back that can open the that sets you up to potentially have that kind of state of like sleep paralysis. And till this day, like I still, every time I fall asleep on my back, I always like kind of think, I was like, oh man, I hope I don't wake up with anything crazy. Like it's always like a thought when I go to bed. But that experience really kind of inspired me to do this this concept on sleep paralysis. I love horror films. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. There's so much good horror from those decades, and I wanted to do a horror film based on this. So I decided to do a proof of concept with two of my very good friends and amazing colleagues that are part of this like collective of filmmakers that I work with. And my buddy Sebastian wrote the script on sleep paralysis, about this young girl. She just graduated college. She's got this like perfect life, she's got this like perfect future ahead of her. She just graduated high school and she's about to go to college. So those are important years in your life. And the night of graduation, she goes out to celebrate with her friends and finds
all by herself. She's blonde.
No,
sorry.
No, sorry. She goes out with her friends and comes home to find her parents brutally murdered. And in that moment that she finds her parents, she's marked because she's hit this like heightened state of fear, and she's marked by this creature from this otherworldly dimension that from that point marks her as a soul that it can use to cross over into our dimension. And in the short, it kind of torments her to the point that it tries to cross over. So the short's actually available online on YouTube. It's on Alter, on the Alter website. And when we did that short, we really just did it as like a proof of concept. I never directed anything in my life, and I always wanted to. And this concept and this idea was so near and dear to me that I decided, I was like, all right, I want to direct this. And my friends that I worked with, the other filmmakers, they all were wholly supportive of it. And they said, let's direct it. We'll support you. And we did it. And I directed it in a way, and we shot it in a way that it did have a beginning and an end, just in case. But we never thought it would live anywhere. Like I was going to use it as a proof of concept to try to pitch like the feature concept of it. Well, a friend of mine, actually, like from two different sources, a friend of mine, Jean, she was like a recruiter for Alter, Gunpowder and Sky, which is like the larger company for Alter, and her job was to go find horror films. So she had submitted it to Alter. And another filmmaker friend of mine, Haz Dalul, who's a really talented filmmaker, had also seen it. And he was really connected with the folks at Gunpowder and Sky. So from two different sources, they got it and they said, hey, we want to put this on our platform. So that's how it got out there. But now my team and I, we're just in like active development. Like the collective that I'm working with is always out, pounding the pavement, try to get that off the ground and try to find opportunities for us. So that's definitely something for next year that I'm looking to focus on. There's so many more other projects that I'm looking to focus on as well, especially being an Asian filmmaker, a Filipino filmmaker. I want to contribute to that landscape of and tell stories from my point of view and what I grew up with. So one of the things that we're working on right now, I'm working with another Filipino filmmaker. I want to create a monster verse of all of based on Filipino horror mythology, and so.
We've got a question, Jeremy, in our little deck of questions about our guests' dream projects, and I feel like this might actually fulfill that as an answer to the question. So, a Filipino horror mythology that's like rivaling the same sort of size as like Marvel, but in horror. Is that where we're going here?
Exactly. Yeah,
Oh, man.
I can't stand horror films, so I'd love to say I'm totally there, go make it, but please don't make me watch it. I'll support you from afar.
Well, that like if you're asking me a passion project or like the thing I need to do, this is definitely one of them. But if I'm being honest, it's a holiday film. Like I grew up loving Christmas, and like I love everything about Christmas and holiday movies. There's a holiday concept that's actually rooted in a Filipino family that involves a creature that I've always been like just kind of churning in my head, and it's definitely something I want to do. I love all of like the classic holiday movies, and I would love to like contribute to that landscape if I'm so lucky. Is like create a holiday movie that resonates with people, and actually be a holiday movie that's about like the true spirit of Christmas.
I can't pronounce what Becca's put on the screen without saying.
It's called Aswang.
Okay,
Yeah,
because I call that asswang. It just sounds a bit rude.
That's hilarious. That's a big demon mythology in Filipino culture, and what you actually find as you know, Chris, I know you don't like horror films and horror, but if you ever did the research, there's a mythology of like demons and creatures that span all the cultures. Like it's there, it's these tales that people have like handed down generationally.
It's like sort of boogeyman and Baba Yaga, and depending on where you are in the world, that there's still someone out to get you, and all of that.
Yeah,
my parents were kind of kind to me. Thanks, Mum. I know you're watching. They didn't scare me with evil things that are going to come get me. They just like, you do that, you get told off.
Exactly. Like a lot of the times, like the horror stories were told to us, like, "Hey, you got to go to bed before the white lady."
Exactly.
Yeah,
I invented an ogre for my kids. We used to, so we live we live in Annecy on a lake, and we used to go for a walk, and there was this radio tower that was like really tall, and it had the drums to receive, all of the reception and emission and thingamajigs. And I used to call it's the ogre's drum set. And the ogre lived in a castle that was on the lake. And one day we took the boat on the lake, and I was like, see, this is where the castle is. And there's like this tiny little entranceway you could go in with a small boat into the So sorry. There was one thing that was that you could go under and go inside the dungeon of the castle that was on the lake, and I told my kids, you guys have to be good because otherwise the ogre is going to come and get you. And every time we would walk, at that walk, we would see the ogre's drum set. And we would pass in front of the castle, and I'd be like, see, the ogre lives here. And they were like freaked out, totally freaked out. I tell you, it works.
It works. I remember so many stories that, especially when I visited the Philippines, of like the horror mythology, and it was almost like a bedtime tale. So, but now I want to do it as like a true horror film.
When you were talking about going to sleep and thinking about, remembering that you don't want to go to sleep on your back, I used to play boogeyman with my dad, and when we were kids, my dad was the boogeyman. and like with all of my friends, we would hide in the house, and my dad would come and get us, and it traumatized me. No, it wasn't. We were playing hide and seek. It was hide and seek, and my dad was just, the boogeyman, and so we would hide, and every single time we would like hide under the covers, and my foot would be sticking out of the covers once in a while, and that's how he would come and grab me, and now I'm like totally traumatized. This is so embarrassing. I'm totally traumatized because I cannot fall asleep if my foot is hanging outside of the bed or outside of the covers. Like if it's in the void of the bed, I'm like, the boogeyman's gonna come and get my.
I'm opposite.
Sorry?
I'm opposite to both of you in two different ways, because I have to have a foot out of the duvet, otherwise I overheat. So I have to have that out of the bed. And Jeremy, I don't have sleep paralysis. I have sleep action. I'm known to launch out of bed and shout about something or someone that is definitely in the house. And then my partner just said, David just goes, come back to bed or whatever. And I go back to bed and I go back to sleep. And he's like, did you remember your little episode last night? I was like, what? No, I slept like a baby.
Wow. I can have conversations in my sleep.
You can.
Like real conversations.
Wait,
And
just by yourself, or like if someone was talking to you while you were asleep?
Oh yeah, someone could talk to me and have actual conversations, and sometimes they're very coherent, and then I'll slip into something like totally wacky crazy, and sometimes they're just right off crazy. It's just I'm weird.
There is a Canadian TikToker that eats a bunch of cheese and then goes to bed. And she's got night cameras all around her house, and it is some of the funniest like short content I have ever seen in my life, because it is so random. It's wonderful. If I could remember her name, I would say, and I would put it in the chat.
She sleepwalks and she talks and stuff. I've seen her.
Yeah,
I've seen that. That freaks me out because I don't think I sleepwalk. No one has ever said that I sleepwalk, but I do sleep talk. And yeah.
When I lived with my parents, I slept walk downstairs, got myself a snack, slept walk back halfway up the stairs, and then managed to lose my footing and woke up at the bottom of the stairs convulsing on the floor because I'd gone backwards and smacked the back of my neck. One of the funniest like paramedic episodes that I've ever taken part in. It was like a double.
Paramedics had to come?
Sorry?
The paramedics had to come? But my mum came and picked me up and was called an ambulance, and the ambulance came, and these two guys came in like cracking jokes the whole time, whilst putting me on a spinal board and like isolating my neck and head, sending my sister off to go get her phone. Who's like, this is the Facebook moment, so go get your phone, get some pictures. It'll be hilarious. Oh, no. And I'm lying there strapped to this board, giggling my head off. I was going to say something else then, Cynthia, but because you're in a monastery, I was good. I was just giggling away. And they said to each other, we're going to have to stop because he needs to stop laughing. Obviously everything was fine, but it was one of the most surreal, weird. There it is. Sarah's got it. Selena Spooky Boo on TikTok is her name. Very funny. All
right. I will look her up and make sure that it is that one. My brother, who's now the monk, used to sleepwalk when he was a kid, and he would go downstairs, turn on all of the lights, and then sleep in the easy chair, my dad's easy sleepy chair in the living room. And my mom would wake up with all of these, lights on. And he's my older brother, and so it was her first kid, and she went to the doctor, and she was like, I don't know. I mean, I'm really worried. And he's like, put a lock on the door of the bedroom and he'll be fine. And so she's like, okay, well, puts the lock on the door. And the first night, she's like on the other side of the door, totally freaked out because she's locked her son up in his bedroom, and she's, worried. And so he wakes up and he kind of jiggles the door and then goes back to sleep, and he stopped sleepwalking in one night. It's crazy. Anyway. And then he became a monk.
Was he being possessed by the baby Jesus?
I don't know. For the little story for my brother, I will tell him to listen to this one. He does listen to some of our shows, but not all of them. He has other things to do than listen to people tell their stories for an hour and a half. But sometimes he actually watches and enjoys it, and he loves your voice. I already told you, Chris, that my brother thinks that you have a very suave voice. Of course, he didn't give me the same compliment. Probably because I talk like this in his head.
I mean, that sounds pretty similar to how you sound in my head as well.
Really?
You don't sound like that.
Hey, can you read between the lines?
That's very, very rude. And Kelly, my mum's watching, so therefore I will behave.
Thank you. Yes. Mummy's watching. So anyway, my brother was actually, we're not Catholic at all, and he's a Catholic monk. And we went to a religious school, but actually, Jeremy, we went to a Seventh-day Adventist school. We were Seventh-day Adventists back then, and all of my friends were Filipinos.
Wow.
Yeah. And in LA, what were you saying, Chris?
I don't know what that is. Whatever you just said, I don't know what it is.
A Seventh-day Adventist. It's a Protestant shoot of, some people say it's a cult, but whatever. It's not. But it's a Protestant religion. Okay. Anyway, and I was like, I was in the minority because the majority of the students were Filipino. And what was so awesome about it is that it's the Filipino mothers that were cooking in the cafeteria.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, the food was so good. It was vegetarian, but it was still so good. The pancit, lumpia. It's so good. I mean, even with tofu. I mean, because
you can't say no to a Filipino mom or grandma about like, oh, I'm full. Like, there's no no to.
And we were so lucky. I mean, we were so lucky. We had the best cafeteria, I think, in all of Los Angeles, because the Filipino mothers were cooking for us, and it was, oh my God, it was so yummy. But anyway, my brother, this is a religious school, and we would pray every day before class. And when my brother was in first grade, so he was like 6 years old, the teacher said to my mom, he's going to be a priest because he wants to pray. He was going to be a pastor because he wants to pray all the time at 6 years old. Wow. So now he's a monk. So that's my story. There we go. That's enough now.
I've just seen Becca's comment in the comments there of wanting to know what she sounds like in my head, and it's like the most ear-piercingly loud, high shrieking foghorn you could ever possibly think of. That's Becca.
Becca, I can't imagine Becca being like that. Are you like that, Becca?
Yeah. We are genuinely friends IRL, and although she comes across lovely when she's in the room, foghorn, louder than me, Cynthia, louder than me. That doesn't
really happen. We should go have a drink. When we can get together and have a drink, we shall go have a drink with Becca, because I do not know. You guys are so mean. Becca, I'm going to defend you. Would you, David and Chris, you're not being nice. Be nice.
We love her, really. So anyway, we're going to go back to Jeremy, and I would like to ask you, Jeremy, like, if you could change something about like the themed entertainment industry, what would it be?
You know,
what do you think is lacking?
Well, I think in the themed entertainment industry, or just the industry overall, well, it's like a two-part question, right? Like, so themed entertainment, what my experience with themed entertainment is, it's actually quite unlike the rest of the entertainment industry. Like, there's a lot of really good people there, and it's not as, I guess, cutthroat as the film and television businesses. You know, that was what was so refreshing for me for the themed entertainment industry, was like how like open and welcoming everyone is, and and just wanting to like make friends and build relationships, and then hey, we happen to work together. Like that's what what really kind of like made me smile when I first started working in themed entertainment. But I think across the board in entertainment, like the one thing I would want to change is just more representation. You know, like for me as a Filipino filmmaker, but also an executive at a company. I know that more often than not, when I join a meeting, I'm the only person of color on a meeting. Like and every time I find other people of color on a meeting, like on Zoom or when I have meetings in person, it's actually something like that like makes me smile in my heart. And I think having that representation is a big part of it. And opening the door, I really do think having more of like a system by which you can find this talent of various like ethnicities and cultures and diversity, like being able to have that reach and then bring it in and then find a way to nurture it to the point where they do become decision makers. That's what I think is important. It's what's lacking.
How would you go about, if you could have like a magic wand and do something to make that happen? What do you think is like the number one thing you would do to make what you would like a reality?
You know, I think that one of the number one things there's a couple of ways to answer this, right? Like the perfect world, or what's like what you could realistically do. And I think what you could realistically do is have a deeper reach and make a better effort to reach kids of color that are growing up not with the same opportunities as their white counterparts, and really kind of teaching them about the opportunities within the entertainment industry. Because a lot of times, I used to work at a school district, and before, while I was making my transition into film and TV, and the thing I saw most was that the arts programs were always cut, and there was a steer towards more vocational programs for these inner city kids. And I think one of the things that we lack is having that reach and showing kids the opportunity or the way that there is this like road, there's this like pathway for them to enter the arts and not just be an actor or a singer or a model or an athlete. Like there's writers, there's all these people like below the line that are on sets. There's all these creative directors. You know, like I meet a lot with high schoolers and college kids that for some reason or another have found me and want to pick my brain about making creatures, but also themed entertainment for some reason. And I always tell them, I was like, do you know that there's so many creative opportunities in the themed entertainment industry? There's creative directors, there's people writing the concepts for all of these big attractions. There's people doing the design of those characters. There's mechanical engineers. It's not it's not just, like you get on a ride and there's music and maybe some media. Like there's a lot that goes into it. There's so many people that touch a project, and there's opportunities for you to actually build a career and a livelihood. And I think when you look at it and you step back and you look at just entertainment as a whole, I think the reason why we haven't had the opportunity to really nurture and promote people of color at high-ranking levels is because, one, there hasn't been a reach to really kind of like fill the talent pool, and two, I still do think that there's systemic problems within. Just how things are organizationally run that aren't identifying or making a better effort to promote and nurture, more people with diverse voices and backgrounds to positions where decisions are actually made. That's the one thing that I would really like to kind of, for me as a filmmaker, I really want to focus on is how can I help amplify voices and collaborate with people of diverse backgrounds to tell stories that normally aren't getting told. And in my projects, that's definitely an aim for me. So yeah, like I know it's a long-winded question for like but it's such a bigger issue that so much more work has to go into it in order to resolve it and make it right.
Shout out to executive producers Patrick Kling and Andy's, and I can't remember Andy's surname right now.
Garfield.
Garfield.
No.
I knew it was a cartoon
Yes.
cat. But like Patrick and Andy are really, specifically really passionate about get amplifying voices and getting these kind of issues in, which is how TTV was born in the first place. Just trying to get more scope and ideas and people connected and together. So if you haven't already spoken to them directly, Jeremy, do.
Well, no, definitely reach out. Like, I think the more people that are willing to make this an effort and a push for change, the faster we can make those changes. It's not going to happen overnight. I know a lot of folks are, they'll say that change is happening and it's evident by like the Oscars and award season. But if you really look at that, that's kind of like a vacuum. Because when you peel off that top layer of like what people see, there's still this like middle and foundational layer where people of color and people of diverse backgrounds that have stories to tell, they're not getting the green light because the people greenlighting it probably aren't looking to greenlight those stories. And I think that's where we kind of have to make some really big sweeping changes, and hopefully that can happen. But in the meantime, my goal is to really partner with people of diverse backgrounds and diverse voices, and try to figure out what stories we can tell.
It was a conversation we were having. I can't remember whether it was on TV, whether it was on Unsung Heroes, or whether it was in another meeting with the TEA, but we were talking about how, Disneyland has parks all over the world, but there are culture-specific rides in the Chinese parks. There are culture-specific rides in America or in the US, and I was like, well, I would really, really enjoy seeing a ride from the Chinese, what Disneyland considers it a better fit to be in the Chinese parks. I'd like to see it in LA. Just like I don't know how it can be done, but have like a traveling exhibition, like in a museum. You just have this traveling ride. I mean, can Haunted Mansion be culturally specific everywhere? And like, hey, we're having Chinese month. Come see the Chinese Haunted Mansion in Los Angeles. And I'd like to see it possible. I'm sure that it can be.
Technically, you can change the gag, you can change the content, but you can't change the ride mechanic, and then that shows up the ride mechanic for what it is, which is why they don't do that. They'd be much better off having the other question here is not only having diverse stories being told, but it's diverse stories being told in diverse ways.
Yes.
Because the way that I tell a story is different to the way that Cynthia tells a story, and that'll be different to the way that Jeremy tells a story. And that is just a tiny group of three people. Now, if you take the whole culture of how a tribe in Papua New Guinea tell a story, they don't have the medium of television or even electricity in some of those tribes, but they have they have a different way of explaining the story and the culture. Now that doesn't, we in the Western world would have that formatted so that we could watch some form of interactive video on it, but whether that be VR or something, and that's the only time I'm ever going to suggest VR in my life because I hate it. Just there's so many opportunities of explaining stories and the way that stories are told in culturally significant ways, but there is no reason for a place. I mean, I genuinely feel like Epcot should end up being the beacon of theme parks, Whereas you walk through the varying countries, you aren't told the Disney version of the culture and the Disney version of what the culture is and what the country is and what the area is around it. You have absolutely down to the tooth and nails of everything, what that culture is, and express the story, whether that be through the idea of sitting around a fire and having the peace pipe going round, or whether it be I'm gonna stop before I end up saying something very insensitive by mistake. But you get my idea.
Yeah, I mean, one thing when I was in college, I took a fantasy literature class, but classic literature, and then I realized that Snow White, that all of these fairy tales were written in so many different ways by many different authors, and so we read, I can't remember which one it was, whether it was the Little Red Riding Hood, that
Bible.
Yeah.
We are in a monastery.
That's dangerous waters there that you're gonna tread.
I had to do it once. I had to get one in.
Right. So
sorry, Cynthia's brother, when you watch this.
It's okay. He knows I'm crazy anyway, so he's used to it now. He knows all of my friends are as crazy, if not more crazy than I am. But I just think it'd be really, really cool to like tell the story the way, I'm sure that in every single culture, there is a story of little children, whether it's a girl or a boy, that goes out on an adventure and meets danger and overcomes the danger. I think, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that actually isn't true, that not every single culture has these stories, but I just would love to hear how other cultures tell the stories that I grew up with, and how different it is.
That's that's a cool concept, because if you think about it, right, just like what I was saying with like these tales of like horror mythology, like the basic foundational story, like that, like the framework of it's told generationally in every culture. But they're adding their own flavor to it, and usually it's even then, like the storyteller themselves is adding their own flavor. So it's like there's all these layers, but when you drill down and you peel back the layers, it's really this like the same concept. Like you know, like I saw in the comments, like the hero's journey. Like the hero's journey is told over and over again, but it's just told differently with different players and different characters in different cultures.
And then we have Shrek, who's like an onion with multiple layers.
Yeah,
also hero's journey.
Yeah.
I really would love, I mean, that would be really a cool thing to actually visit at Epcot or elsewhere, where, you know, you have people, you can hear the same story
Yes.
being told in different ways, using different methods, different, you know, techniques. And I think I would be a total fan.
You could have an attraction that literally was the same story presented in 6 or 7 different cultures.
Yeah,
I'd go to that. I would totally go to that.
I would
Would
totally
that not
go.
support the idea of like inclusivity and understanding? I think that would be like really on point. At the moment.
Guys, who do we pitch this to? Like this concept we're coming up with. Like, let's powwow after this and find a buyer for it.
That's your job.
Go. It's your job.
I'll figure it out, guys. But it's a really good concept. I do. You know, when I entered into the themed entertainment business, I saw that like IP was king, right? And I like, especially U.S. IP, like Hollywood IP. That kind of dominated. Like I remember my first year at IAPA, I just saw like Marvel everywhere, like DC everywhere, like like DreamWorks, like all this like IP, right? Nickelodeon. And then I started thinking to myself as I was meeting all of these people from different countries and with different parks and different concepts. I said, wouldn't it be cool just to create new bespoke IP that was like just focused on that culture? And then you start it at, like you take it first at like this like themed entertainment level, at the park level. Let's say like if you did a park in China and had like so many impressions and so many people a year, right? Let's say it did like 3 million people a year, and like that's 3 million people that are now exposed to this like culturally specific IP, and when I mean IP for the people out in the world that are listening, it's intellectual property. It's like the characters, the world, the brand, and imagine if you're able to grow your base from kind of like the reverse. It didn't start off as like a film or TV show, but you were able to start it at like this like regional cultural level and then grow it.
There are so many parks in Europe that do this, and this big IP thing is lazy storytelling. To me, like it's so lazy. Okay, we're just gonna bang. This is Hagrid's new roller coaster. You all know Hagrid has a bike. So you all know he's got the go button and he can slow it down, he can speed it. We all know that walking into it. What I love about going through somewhere like Cynthia will correct me on pronunciation, Puy de Fou.
Puy de Fou, ouais. Puy du Fou.
Puy de Fou.
Ne change rien.
And I mean, my favourite European park is Europa Park, because there are so many different stories in such a tight space. It's not like, although they are grouped sort of together and not in English, and the same with, in fairness, Parc Asterix is the same in that sense. It is all in French, but I still can walk through that as a non-French or non-German speaking visitor.
Absolutely.
And I can experience and see the story evolve in front of me without because it's doing it visually. Audibly, I'm lost because I don't speak the language, but they still manage to to cater for so many different cultures and people in each of those parks. Whereas if you go to even a Knott's Berry Farm, a Disney, a Universal Studios, like this is it. This is it's big IP in one sense and American in the other. And it's this is it, and this is what's there. There's no thought process behind how do we make this accessible. So I think the stories are better in those kind of non-big IP parks.
I think one of the main things in the US is that it's the IPs are just so dominant, and I mean TV, the culture of cartoons is just huge in the US, and so to compete with those hugely dominating IPs is just so difficult. And when you take Europe, I mean, buying an American IP is so expensive, and then you have the cultural difference of dealing with the IP holders and how are you going to deal with this. And it's just so much simpler to just create your own IP. I'm sure that this is the thought process that so many European parks have gone through. And there's another thing. So in Latin America, where I'm going next year to visit these parks, they have a tax on IPs that come from outside of the countries.
Wait, so they actually they tax it? So like if you were to get Marvel in a Latin American theme park, there's a tax on the park for using that.
It's like it's an import tax.
Wow.
And so parks, this is why you only have Wet and Wild. Oh goodness. I'm not even going to address that. This is why you
Red Wizard instead of the Scarlet Witch.
I don't know. So I don't know because I'm going, next year I'll be there. But they don't have, like, they have Wet and Wild. They have their own parks. They have their own IPs. They've developed everything themselves, because why pay a tax?
Yeah.
And they get it culturally specific, and that's what they do.
And look, I really do think there is a place for big IP, and why, and you know, everyone understands why big IP, it has so much power at the theme park setting, because everyone wants to go, like, experience it, right? Like, outside, like that extension of beyond the film and television or the book. But I do also like, and this is, you know, great to hear that, you know, parks in Europe and Latin America are looking to do something more culturally specific. And kind of create new IP. I think that's what's great about our business, and like the entertainment business overall, is the ability to create, like, world build, create new characters. And I think there's space for it as well alongside the big IP. Because you know, at some point, if you're successful, that little culturally specific content that you've created all of a sudden becomes big IP.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Europa Park, I mean, Europa Park is, like, super well known all over Germany, France, in Italy. I mean, we all know the well, now we're going into something else different, but their IP is a little mouse too. But we're not going to go into that. But I mean, it's just there are so many things that stay on with the kids, and they don't have the TV shows. With Europa Park, with their IPs, they are starting to have cartoons and TV shows. They're doing it the way you said it. You know, they create their own IP at the park, and then they're turning it into an entire area, an entire universe in TV. And I mean, they're doing it the totally opposite way from what we see in the US. And I mean, I think it's just inspiring to actually see that happen, where, you know, create something from scratch, make it from scratch. It's incredible. It's just incredible.
It's cheaper, and it has more legs as well, because you can go anywhere with a new IP. You can go anywhere with any character. Well, and you can go down any avenue with it, and it's not like you're not. There's a certain expectation, and I think, like, that's where the big parks do, like, sort of ride the crest. It's like, well, because I've seen the films, or I've watched the TV shows, I'm expecting brilliance here. But then, because they don't need to lay a story out in front of you in the queue, they have to keep you engaged, and then you do the ride, and they have to build expectation even further, which is tough. But
and the whole time,
engaging story.
You're working within the confines of the IP, like, you know, like, as you're trying to tell that, like, which, you know, Chris, to your point, it's tough. Like, it's not always easy to kind of continue that storyline and give them a new experience, because you have to work within the confines. Like, you can't add a new character. You know, you can't add a new world. Like, like, you have to kind of recreate it. And, you know, there is limitations to just doing big IP.
But museums have the same problem by being confined to history. And it's the same sort of thing. If you switch the words IP and history, then museums have exactly the same problem. It's like, well, we need to make this bring in the visitors and bring in people, and not just people that are specifically interested in the subject, but people that aren't, but we could develop into people that are interested in the subject.
Yeah.
And how you present that with an engaging story that is as, I don't know, impactful as what we're used to being delivered as viewers and visitors in parks and in other areas. And
historically correct. That's something that I ran into with the Quake Museum in Lisbon. So we have this, it's half scientific, half historical, and all of the scientific data needs to be correct, but kind of dumbed down for a 7-year-old to understand, but not so dumbing it down that it's wrong. and then it has to also be scientifically correct for someone who actually knows what quakes are and can actually, you know, connect with the story. And then you have the historical part where you got to tell stories. You have characters coming in and telling their story, but it has to be correct. You know, would a grandson write to their grandparents saying "grandpa"? You know, would they use the formal language or the informal language? And it has to, you have to be so careful of all of those details when you.
So
pops.
There is a new technology on the market for exactly dealing with that exact point, right? So grandpa can walk up to the kiosk or area and be presented with the information, so without having with an adult understanding but no understanding of the subject, can be presented with one type of information. Now, and then his son, who is, let's say it's like a meteor thing, so you've got an older guy that's the grandfather, that's an electrician. He doesn't know F all on the subject. Ooh. Do you see how I did it there? I skipped
You're
it.
very good. You are very good.
And then the son has is a meteorologist, and he's like, well, I know about that. I don't need to see that. And then he stands at the kiosk, and it presents him with information that's up at his level to show his level of interest and show something different and new there. And then his daughter comes in, and it's like, meteors are big rocks that come from space. But so we can present and have the same engagement at varying different like understanding and informative levels for different people. And all they've got to do is one little questionnaire at the start. So it makes it a more personal, relatable, understandable experience. And
I'd love to go to a museum like that, but run it through like however many levels of nuance there is. I would go through that museum and keep going back and start with like the kids version, and then go up to, you know, and I would love to read and hear all of the different levels of nuance in knowledge that a museum could present to me. I think that, I mean, we didn't do that. We didn't do that with Quake, but I think that's so awesome.
It also delivers a level of honesty in yourself as well. Like, oh, I think I know something about this subject, and you go in and you're like, I don't know anything about this. Can I go back out? And I'm going to start again. But then when you complete, you can even do a little bonus feature, like, oh, when you've if you've come back and you've done like, you've come back 3 or 4 times. To go up the levels and understand more. We're like, well, we really thank you for coming back. So here's £20 off or $20 off in the gift shop. Like, that doesn't really hurt. That doesn't hurt the establishment, and it brings back repeat business and expands people's knowledge.
Hey, that's kind of interesting. Learning something.
I know it might be a foreign concept. It is a foreign concept to Americans.
Oh, now stop that.
Some, I'll back that up. Sorry, some.
Let's not generalize this.
Let's not generalize. We're not going to generalize.
Right. So now that I've screwed that up, shall we go into a much more excitable, fun part of the conversation?
Sure.
Yes, a fun question.
Unless Jeremy has anything more to tell us that he wants to get off his chest or explain to our viewers about himself and his job and what he does and how he got there.
No, I think we've touched on it. I've had so much fun and I'm excited to answer these questions that you guys seem so excited to ask me.
Can I hit the hypothetical first? Because
go for it. Go for the hypothetical.
Right. Okay. Right. So my question does have some parameters. So I'll say the question, I'll read the parameters, and I'll go back to the question. Right. So how much money would I have to pay you to wear a puppet of yourself on your hand for a year? The puppet must say one thing in every conversation you have. The puppet must have a different voice to you. It must be on your hand at all times. You can't cover it up. You can't tell anyone what you're doing, and neither can the puppet.
Okay.
How much would I have to pay you to wear that puppet on your hand for you?
Can I ask questions about the parameters before
Absolutely.
So the puppet's on me at all times, right?
The puppet is on your hand at all times.
And is it talking for me all the time, or is it?
No, it has to say one thing in every conversation that you have. That includes conversations with your other half and every professional conversation that you have.
I only have to, and I have to wear it all the time.
All the time, and it has to have a different voice to you.
Even during coitus.
Like just thinking about it, I don't know if you really have to pay me much. Like, just think, like, because here's the thing. Here's the thing when you look at it, right? When you think about it, I was like the puppet. What I would do with my puppet and my puppet voice, it would be like my alter ego, right? Anytime I didn't want to say anything or I couldn't say anything, it would say it for me. Like I could be Jeremy in that the guy that's just like, uber professional, but then the puppet can just kind of like it just has diarrhea of the mouth whenever it just wants to say what it wants to say. Now I'd have to excuse it. I'd have to say, guys, you have to excuse puppet Jeremy for his outbursts. But really, it's still.
What would he sound like?
I don't. I don't know. It would have to depend on the day. I think if it was angry, it'd have more of like a gruff voice, But if it was like happy, it might have more of a high pitched voice. Like I think that's what's great about the puppet, right? Like it could take on your emotion of at the time. It's wide open. That's. You got to remember.
I've got this image in my head of you sat there going, "This is a great idea." That's fucking stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Who the fuck's even here? Fucking idiot. Excuse Puppet Jeremy for his outburst and his rudeness. You're all assholes.
Like the puppet would essentially, like, it could also be my hype man. Like, oh, Jeremy, come in.
He pokes his head through the door like, "Hi, everybody. It's Jeremy's coming in." It's like, "Can we get a hell yeah?"
Yeah, see?
Ladies and gentlemen, your host for this meeting. Trevor.
They would have sound effects. We're like, whoa, 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 and then, it would be you guys. When you came up with this question, you clearly forgot that I've had puppets around me for the last 12 years.
No, I picked this question. So there is a British TV show that I like to grab these hypothetical questions from, and it couldn't be more of a perfect question to have asked you.
Wonderful.
And it was like, I have to do this down to the letter.
You wouldn't have to pay me much because there would be times when just thinking about in this past week that I could have used that puppet.
I mean, do I get a little a royalty for the idea now, passing it on to you?
Well, if I ever come back and do another show with TETV and I have it, it's going to give you a special shout out. Okay. If it just comes out, it's like, I want to thank Chris.
I think
this British guy, Chris, he created me.
You know that, Jeremy, if you ever are interviewed on a TV show, or I'll put it out there, any
I don't have
other
a puppet,
show.
I do have a floppy horse.
You should really come with your puppet and just say, I was on a show. Gotta, it's got to be there. So we're waiting for it. Next time you're on a show, I'll be waiting for it too.
This actually gives me a cool concept for a TV series.
Royalties.
I'll make sure to bring you guys in because like you guys did come up with the idea with me. That's like, and this is love. Like we get to brainstorm.
We're coming up with a bunch of ideas. Dang! Wow. We're just shooting the ideas. Huh?
I said it's been a good show. We're not even done yet.
I know. We're like one fun question in. I have one.
Okay, sure.
Cynthia.
I'm cracking it. What is one thing that you own that you should actually throw away?
Oh.
There's
this and I actually have thrown. Well, I actually did throw it away. Like recently, it was a T-shirt that I've had for so long, and it like there's holes in it and everything, but it's so soft. When you put it on, that like I would only wear it in the house, of course. Yeah, it's like it's like a warm hug once you put it on, and then like at some point it got so tattered that I had to get rid of it.
Yeah, I can totally get that. I'm laughing also because Kelly, I asked Kelly, our producer, that question, and she was like, not just one thing, most of my clothes.
For me, as I've gotten older, I've been able to part with things easier, especially for like when I moved in with my girlfriend about like a year and a half, 2 years ago. I had accumulated all this stuff in LA, like living on my own. And I was like, well, I'm moving in with her. I can get rid of this. I don't need this. Like you realize how much you just hold on to things. And you like, I always look at it like if I didn't touch it or wear it or use it or look for it in the last year, do I really need it?
Amen. I also do the same thing with things, and if I haven't used it in like do it yourself stuff like a cable or it can be just like not a light bulb but like a nail. When you build a IKEA thing, you always get like things that come with it, and you end up not using them all. I wonder why though, because then I think, did I put it together wrong? But anyway, have you
ever bought a piece of like a new jacket or some piece of clothing that gave you the spare button, and you hold on to that spare button thinking that you're going to use it and you're going to need it one day, and then you're like going through your stuff one day and you just find all these spare buttons. Like that's me sometimes.
That you did actually need, but couldn't find the buttons because you didn't even think about finding the button in the button drawer that you put them all in. Just ridiculous. Anyway, go for it, Chris.
I genuinely cut the buttons off, throw them in the bin, and then if the button breaks on the item of clothing, it goes in the bin. Is that not
exactly?
Is that not what people
do? Yeah. Well, or you can get another button. I mean, I'll put on a different button. I have a coat.
Didn't match exactly.
Yeah, I do
I'm
that.
not going to waste I've got 2 boxes next to me, 3 boxes that are like full of Chris's man stuff, which is all like the decorating equipment, tools, screws and brackets, and like loads and loads of accumulated stuff that I don't need. But at the time that I'd be really, really annoyed if I threw them away now and then tomorrow I needed them. So they just sit there in the boxes. There is an air rifle in there as well.
Oh, goodness.
A pellet rifle I think it is pellet rifle in American, isn't it?
A BB rifle, BB gun.
Yeah, a BB gun.
Little lead pellets as opposed to circles. It's not ball bearings, it's circle. It's like the shape of a shuttlecock from badminton.
Oh, like that.
I have no idea.
A
Nerf?
No, not Nerf.
Nerf gun?
No, that's the anti-Kelly cannon. Where is that?
The anti-Kelly cannon? Oh my God.
That's the anti-Kelly cannon for when she's been rude in producer chat. I've literally just got destroyed half of my office. Anyway.
Go, shoot. Next question. Calm down, Cinnamon Wind.
You know what? I've forgotten what that's in reference to. I know it's aimed at me.
Either.
And I'm supposed
you guys gotta fill me in. What is that in reference to?
Kelly, you're going to have to come on screen and explain what the cinnamon wind is.
And David, yes, you're very right. Yes. Kelly's not on. Kelly is gone. It was the farting cereal thing, cinnamon wind. It was with
now
Jeffrey.
I'm not even sure I know what that is.
Yes, Sarah, it was with Jeffrey. Thank you, Sarah. Also, our assistant producer, Sarah. What would we do without you? You give us our answers in the comment section, and we look like we're very intelligent people thanks to you. All right, go for it. Go for the next question.
Anyway, right, Jeremy, if you had to ride into the battle on the back of an animal, what would it be?
On the back of an animal? Oh, definitely a lion. The part of actually, either a lion or a tiger. Only because I grew up loving He-Man. So like it would be like that full-on decked out like battle cat.
Right, I reckon Cynthia, do like hit your questions, the new ones, hit them out quick, and let's do real fast snap questions.
Okay.
All right, you ready, Jeremy?
Sure.
Apples or oranges?
Oranges.
Wrong answer.
Why? No, why?
Wrong.
Why? Not wrong. Why?
I'm not trying to discriminate against apples, but oranges are delicious.
Apples, because you can put peanut butter on them.
Wrong. Peanut butter is disgusting. You eat apples, you drink oranges. This is the way forward.
Were we supposed to be banging through my fun questions?
Yeah, we were, but you didn't get a chance to say why. You just told him he was wrong, and Jeremy's not wrong. He's our guest. Jog off.
You did that in a monastery.
I didn't find this in the monastery.
All right, chocolate or vanilla?
Oh, chocolate.
Why?
Well, because chocolate goes with everything. Like vanilla, I'd only have with my ice cream.
Chocolate doesn't go with everything.
Wait. Vanilla you only have with your ice cream?
Yeah, like the only time I actually really have vanilla is if I have vanilla, if I want vanilla ice cream. But chocolate, you can have chocolate candy bars. You can have chocolate syrup on ice cream. You can have chocolate, actual chocolate on ice cream. You can have chocolate flavored most things.
I'm not even going to read what Chris put in the chat.
That's why I put it in the
chat. Best sandwich.
Oh, well, this is easy. It's a cheesesteak. Like I grew up outside of Philadelphia, in that Philadelphia area. If I can eat a cheesesteak every day of the week, I would. But I'd look quite different.
I've had a Philly cheesesteak sandwich multiple times in my life and never been impressed. So,
well, where did you?
How does it become impressive, and what where does it come from? What are the ingredients? I know it comes from.
It's a special kind of bread, first of all.
Mm.
There's an Amoroso bread that. So in LA, when I first moved out here, I was on the hunt for like a real cheesesteak place. My brother and I. And we found one. They actually flew the bread in from Philadelphia, Amoroso bread, so that because the bread's important. It's like the carrier. And then you got to have it with Cheese Whiz. Do you guys know?
I do.
Yeah. So because melted Cheese Whiz over ribeye, over thinly sliced ribeye, and I do mine with onions, grilled onions. You can't beat that. And that's why everyone tries to say, I see it all the time when I travel, especially in the airports, they call themselves Philly cheesesteaks, and it's on the menus, and it tastes nothing like a cheesesteak.
So for my LA peeps, my Pasadena peeps, I grew up in La Cañada, and in La Cañada there's a place called Georgie's Pizza, and I think it's still there, and I don't know whether it's still as good. But when I was growing up in the late 80s, that was where I got the best Philly cheesesteaks sandwiches that were just, oh my God, so good. So good.
It's all about the bread and the cheese.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah.
But every sandwich, it's not every sandwich. It's not true. Not every sandwich. All right. Your favorite smell?
My favorite smell? Oh, it's the beach. Yeah, like that ocean water. It's for me. Yeah, I love that smell. Yeah.
And least favorite smell?
Least favorite smell? So many. Yeah. There's so many. Probably like old milk. If I smell old milk, like I can't do it. Yeah.
Old milk that's slightly off, or old milk that you can slice?
No, that's slightly off. Like because
when it's real funky.
Yeah, when it's real funky, like that minute it like hits your nostrils.
Yeah,
it's like it just sends this like message to you, like no, like
no.
It's just like no.
We're not going there.
Yeah,
the I'm almost cheese, but leave me alone for a bit. Smell.
Yeah, exactly.
Gross. All right, one song that you have to listen to for the rest of your life.
Oh, one song? I'm a big fan of D'Angelo growing up, and there's a song called "Cruising," and it's I would listen to that every day, and I pretty much almost do listen to it every day. I'm a big believer that everyone has a soundtrack in their head when they're going about their daily life, and my soundtrack is proliferated with all these songs that I grew up with, and a lot of R&B, a lot of hip hop. So yeah.
I just had a brilliance in my brain, and that question should have been asked from the start. And we need to go back now. So Sarah, please timestamp this and note Jeremy's answer. And we need to ask all of our previous guests and all of our futures guests that question and create a playlist.
Unsung Heroes playlist.
It's great. Yeah.
And everyone.
Very good idea.
We can, because that's going to drop all over the shop with different, people, different songs. That's going to be mad.
Well, I asked Kelly for hers before this show because I was testing my fun questions on her, and she gave me. Hold on, I'm going to find it.
Country Road from Denver.
No, Keali Rachel. Oholi Kapili. It's a Hawaiian song. It's beautiful. So I downloaded it on Spotify because it's just absolutely beautiful. So yes, we should definitely do that. The last fun question on my list, because Chris has another one, will be describe the rest of your life in 5 words.
In 5 words.
Yes.
There's used 3.
Doing what I love. That's the rest of my life. Doing what I love.
That's wonderful. Love it. Chris?
I was just counting and making sure that it was in 5 words because, I'm a stickler for the rules. We will go with... Because it's Unsung Heroes, I'll wrap up with our final 2. Because it's Unsung Heroes... If you could have a superpower, what would it be and why?
I like that one too.
I think if I could have a superpower, the ability to stop time, because
that's the same as mine. Pause it, right? Like it's like a
little exactly, to like freeze time, like because not to go back in time or go forward in time, just to stop it, because like time is a commodity that you don't have enough of. And if I had all the time in the world, there's so much I could accomplish. That's why, for me, it's so important to take full advantage of the time that I do have, and really just put it to good use and make memories, enjoy the people that I have around me, the people that I love, and make new friends, new relationships. So like, and while also going after like all of my goals and ambitions. So time, like being able to like freeze time, that would be my superpower.
I wanted that. Yeah, I'm there, except for one little bit for me. I would like to be able to skip forward, not back. I would like to skip forward for like 5 minutes And then I'd be able to set the time where I wanted to skip forward to for 5 minutes, just to so that I can get to the end of the conversation, because I'm kind of famous for putting my foot in my mouth and saying massively inappropriate without meaning to. So I'd like to go forward to the end of the conversation. How much does everyone hate Chris? Okay, no, he got away with that one. We'll go back and we'll live that through. Or then skip forward and go, oh, everyone's really upset about Chris right now. And then I'll come back and no, actually, sorry, everyone, that was an inappropriate comment. I did not mean it. What I actually meant was, so with the pause time, have time to think about how I'm portraying things. Because I literally, I think, comes out my mouth before I've even thought of it. And it's a huge personal problem.
But we love you for it sometimes. Most of the time it makes us hilariously laugh.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Other people, not so much.
Well.
And then finally, I have to have props for this. This is another sort of semi-hypothetical one, Jeremy, but so if you had to wear one hat for the rest of your life and you weren't allowed to tell anyone why you were wearing it or what it was for, you were just going to wear the hat for the rest of your life, which one would you pick? Would you pick the big hat or would you pick the little hat?
Oh,
and we're still wearing those during coitus. Realize this.
I would totally pick the top hat.
The big hat.
Yeah, I could make that hat look cool.
That's the tally for the top hat is astounding.
Yes, it is.
And I don't know if this one's a little bit too camp.
Yeah, I have a hard time going through life trying to, and I couldn't explain that one. That just stands out and screams, "Hey, I need you to tell me why you're wearing the hat." Versus the top, the big hat, most people will just chalk it up to a fashion statement. And imagine all the things you could hide in the hat.
Not a lot, because it doesn't even fit my head. I'm 6'7".
But your head is huge.
So this is just the worst. For me, it's the worst possible choice. But then at the same time, just coming up to a meeting like this, just hi, everyone. And they're like, Chris, why are you wearing a hat? It's what hat?
I'm not wearing a hat.
Oh, that's just my thing. It happened.
All right. That is the end of our show.
Jeremy,
it is the signal.
Where can we find you? Where can we follow, subscribe, and
slightly press?
Well, I'm on Instagram at Jeremy Nocon. I'm on Clubhouse. I don't know if you guys are on Clubhouse. On LinkedIn. I'll have to find you guys on Clubhouse. I'm on LinkedIn, and that's where you'll find me.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jeremy. This was a wonderful show. It was very cool, and I survived it in a monastery with my really weird connection. Yay! So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I've had so much fun. This has really been a blast. I've loved every minute.
Yes, and as Chris said, to follow all of our TETV shows, there are many of them. Follow, and subscribe TETV channel on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Where else are we? My goodness, Instagram, Twitter, so many. Twitch, TikTok. We are on TikTok.
That's
I know, terrifying. It's crazy.
I'm so sorry.
Yes. And so there you go, Jeremy. Thank you so much. Don't forget to bring your puppet, your alter ego puppet, to the next interview you make, and see you soon.
See you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you.